Hey, Facebook world, Gloria here with my buddy. Oh, they're this way again. Well, we're here today to talk to you about a few things. One, integrity, one of my favorite topics. And two, how to give you tips for writing. So, Candy, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hi, everybody.
Well, for those of you that have been watching my journey along with Candy, you know that we are in the process of publishing a co-authored book. And Candy, today we're going to share a little bit of that process with our audience, aren't we?
Yeah, we really are. It's been an amazing process.
It really has. And so if you have questions today, please drop a line down below and we will do our best to answer them while we're live, or we'll come back later because sometimes Facebook doesn't always bring those things up. But I want to talk about tips for writing to keep the integrity of your story. And here's what I found while working with some of our co-authors. And Candy, you can jump in anytime and share as well. You know, everybody has a story. Everybody has a life story. And not everybody thinks it's valuable, but it really is. And when I was reading these stories from the perspective of being in their shoes, I have to tell you, it was pretty amazing to walk that path with other people. Do you agree, Candy?
I agree. When I was reading everyone's stories, when I was doing the layout, before I did the layout to do the manuscripts, it was powerful to read everyone's stories and to see some of the similarities, but then the amazing differences as well, and feel that strength in their awakening and their authenticity. It was really powerful.
It really is. And I'm glad you used the word authenticity too, because that's really staying in the integrity of your story, but it's also staying in the integrity of your publishers and editors that work with you. Because I remember a long time ago, I've been writing for over 40 years. And Candy, I remember a time years ago when somebody took my work and they changed the wording and it did not fit what message was I was conveying. And I know you write too. Did you ever have anything like that happen?
I haven't had anyone edit my work. I just started publishing, in books, but I know, in knowing you so well, when I look at your stories, I can see, I know what your flow and your style is. And I know how, if someone changed that, it would completely change what you were trying to say, because your energy wouldn't be coming through those words.
Exactly. And that's why we're here to talk to all of you today, because you could be writing something and really passionate and excited about it. And then you give it over to somebody who wants to edit it and they completely change it. But we don't completely change things over here. We want the integrity in your story, because I do remember somebody changing, like you were saying, Candy, that energy behind what I was writing about. And it didn't feel good. And I kept, conversing with them about, but that's not what I said. So it's really important to work with people that understand you. And because Candy and I are both very intuitive as well, we can tune in to you on another level. Don't you agree that happens?
Oh, all the time. Absolutely. When we were doing the edits and the cover design, and yeah, using that gift of intuition and empathy to really to touch and connect with the author's energy, I think is vital.
Yeah. And so for those of you that don't know, Candy is an amazing graphic designer. She is an intuitive artist, and we have been working together on projects for over 8 years now, correct?
Yeah, 8 or 9 years, yeah.
Yeah. And so when I have a vision of what I would like on covers and stuff, and I kind of put it there and I give her an idea, she usually has about 90% of it the first shot out with a couple little tweaks. And that's pretty amazing, I think. Don't you think?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. And I want to talk about covers, because covers are really, here's your first tip out there if you're listening. Covers are important. You could have the best story in the world, but if your cover doesn't grab one people's attentions, okay, if it doesn't align with the title and the message that you want to give to people, then guess what? Nobody's going to look at it. So when
No.
they're scrolling through those icons on Amazon, it's that little icon that's going to stand out for them to even stop and look at your cover. And that was one of the amazing things that I found along the way, because I have published other books. And fortunately, Candy has been my graphic designer. But there are a lot of other things that we're going to share with you today, tips that we have found out over time, and definitely found out more in this process of working with these co-authors. So tip number one, your cover should make a statement about your title and you. And Powerful Potential of Purpose Publishing, which is our new business together. Yes, that's right. You heard me. We don't give you a stock photo. Okay. We give you something that is going to represent you. What do you have to say about that, Candy?
Yeah, we do absolutely unique intuitive designs, because the research has shown, just like you said, that it doesn't matter what your content is. If that cover doesn't grab the attention of the reader, that they will pass by. It won't matter what the content is. People will pass it by just on what the cover says and
That's
what
right.
it looks like. So we really work hard, and I really work hard to connect with the energy of the author or authors to see, and there's questions, and there's time spent one-on-one with you to really kind of glean down into what the soul of your story is, what your heart is, and then to bring that out in an image and text and artwork that speaks to your story and your soul, and then also the heart and soul of the readers.
And that's a big part of the integrity of the cover design too, because it would be easy for us to throw up a name and a stock photo and say, done, right? But the fact that we spend time, in that space that Candy's talking about, and she creates from that energy, and then her and I will look at it and kind of feel it out too, because I also work with this intuitively. And she's going to be working with you. So that's an important part too. If you choose Powerful Potential and Purpose Publishing, is to know that you get that one-on-one personal touch. Now, if you're out there saying, I can't write, well, if you can speak, if you have thoughts, if you have a pen, pencil, computer, typewriter, you can write. Now, you may not know all the grammar, but that's where the experts come in. So I want to share a little story with you guys. About 19 years ago, I went into New York City, where my son was working in a recording studio as a sound mixer. I didn't know anything about this stuff because it's not my expertise, right? And the producer was so amazed at what he was doing. He said, you have to come listen. So of course I wanted to listen. It was my son, right? So he was working on two very famous, that's right, music artists. You ever hear of Janet Jackson or John Cicada, right? I'm sure you have. Well, my son was he was the main person back there doing the sound mixing, helping them sound even better. Kind of like when we help you with the writing, sound even better. Keeping it in their integrity so that it sounds like them, but fine-tuning it because of his skills. Well, when I heard before and after, I was blown away. And he looks at me and says, Mom, I can make you sound good. And so that's what we're here for, to make your words sound as beautiful as your heart and soul. So here's a tip. Tip number 2. I actually got this one from a stranger in France, okay, who stopped along the way talking to me about 2 years ago. He was also a passionate writer. And he said to me, do you know you should write between the first 24 and 48 hours when feelings are fresh? Well, yeah, I know that. But do I always do it? Didn't always do it until I remembered that. Said yes. Because when you have those feelings inside, well, you journal, Candy, tell them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when those, and again, it's about the energy, but the feeling, and you can really express those feelings when they're at the top of your mind, when they're really present, you're really just right there. And if you wait and do it later, you'll find that to capture it is not as easy, and it won't be as vibrant. It won't bring in that light, the energy, the color, all of the magic that happens when you're right in the middle of that feeling.
Absolutely.
If you think about opening, a Christmas present, Christmas morning, you open the present and it's like, oh, it's amazing. But then 3 or 4 days later, if you try to get back into that feeling, it's just not quite the same.
It's kind of like when you get older and you have senior moments. You don't remember, you don't catch it right away. So here's what I want to encourage you to do, okay? Allow yourself to let your words flow. Get a notebook, get a journal. Don't worry about grammar. That's why there are editors. So even I'm writing, even when Candy's writing, we're paying attention to it on some level because we've both been writing for a lot of years. Okay? However, I don't worry about it, and I don't want you worrying about it. Just let it flow, because when you decide to publish your book, your manuscript, your poetry, whatever, your inspiration, there are going to be teams that can help you when you go with a publishing company. And that's what we pull together. We are pulling a team of proofreaders and editors and you name it that are going to help you with all of this. So just go ahead and keep writing, right? Just let it flow. So be creative, allow your energy to flow, and immerse yourself in your story, kind of what Candy was just sharing. So I want to ask Candy something. She was also a contributing author in this book. Candy, when you first wrote your story versus the final outcome, can you share with our audience, because they're watching right now, what transpired for you? And guys, if you have a question or a comment, please post it down below, okay? So what happened from your first story to your final outcome?
It was a really amazing process, and it wasn't anything that I expected. And I have been writing for 20 plus years. And so I wrote the first draft, and that was fine. And then, Gloria gave me a little bit of guidance here and there. So I stopped and I got back into the story and I went deeper. I went down into that next layer, and I thought, okay, so what's the message? What am I trying to say? But it went way beyond what I thought I was trying to say, and it went into my own journey of discovery about some stuff from a really, really long time ago that's been blocking me for 40 years. And the process kept going. And I did the second draft, and then I did a third draft. And each time I wrote, it would take me into a deeper layer, a deeper level, a deeper level. And then I thought I was done. And I was ready to put it in the book. And I touched base with Gloria, and she's such an amazing coach and encourager, and the way that she helps us as authors to pull those really golden, magical diamond bits out of our story and out of our own soul, in our heart. And she said one thing, and I stopped and went, that's not what I want to put out. That's not the energy that she was picking up from the story, that while it was a very powerful story, the energy that she was picking up wasn't what I wanted. It just wasn't what I wanted. And so I dove in again, and I did one more draft, and I went really, really deep on that one. And that, and the magic, and each draft, the magic happened, and I saw more and more and more, peeling away all of those layers. And then the final draft came, and it's powerful. It really was. That journey was amazing.
I think that's what's so fun about it, because as a life coach and an intuitive, working with you, Candy, and everybody on this book, I was able to use these skill sets and tap into the energy behind your words. That's the trick, kind of, it's like I listen to not just what you're saying or what you're writing. It's the energy, the impact of that energy. And when I can key into that, that's where we go and work. And it's amazing, because if let's say we're doing a book where you're telling your story, okay, you will go through perhaps a place of your hurt and your pain. You go through your healing, and then you go through helping others. And that is exactly what happened with you by writing and writing and writing again.
Yeah. Well, and I'm curious if you went through the same process, because you wrote for this book too, and you wrote your story.
I actually did. And it was funny because I have written varieties of this story for different purposes. And I remember stopping at a certain point, and I like to write late at night. So I don't know about you guys out there when you get inspired, but late at night when everything's calm and my guidance spirit is coming through me, the second half took a completely different turn than what I thought would happen, because it actually tied in what I call the soul alchemy taking, like you were sharing, the different stages and realizing that our whole entire life is already laid out for us. But when we're ready, like what was it today? I was in the car. I always get insights. When you continually heal, your purpose is revealed.
Oh,
And that, yes, I got that in the car.
I
And
like that.
I like that, right? And that's what began to happen in the second half of mine. It took on a whole new direction.
Mhm.
So actually we have Nanette, who is also one of our
Hey.
bring her on. We're going to chat with her too. So if you're listening and you have questions about writing, then please drop a line below, okay? Because we would love, love, love to hear from you. Hey Nanette, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you, ladies? I don't know what that is.
Okay, something's going on with your mic. Candy, I'm going to mute you for a second. Okay. All right, we got to have one on a time. Sorry about that, all of you listening. So, Nanette, thank you for taking time out of your schedule. And can you hear me? Can you hear me? Nanette, just talk and say hello.
Hi.
Yeah, we're all good. We're all good.
Okay.
All right, we fixed it. We got it fixed, okay?
Like, oh my gosh, I come on and throw the whole thing off.
Yeah, that's your energy, girl, okay? So, Candy and I have been chatting about writing tips and what's been happening with the writing process. And you're a brand new writer to all of this getting published, aren't you?
I've done some writing in the past, and this is the second opportunity I've had to share a story with a group of women, and it feels so exciting, and it fills my heart to know that I have a story, I have a struggle that I've been through that I'm able to transform, that I'm able to transmute into something that can potentially help other women. So it's been a great journey, an awesome unfolding, and I just take step by step, one foot in front of the other.
That's all we can do.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yes.
a strange noise. Huh. Don't know why that's happening. Do you have a headset by any chance?
I don't have one that's compatible with my
Okay.
computer.
Well, we're going to make this work however we can. Okay. So one of the things that Candy and I were sharing was the process of the writing. We want to share with our audience the process of the writing. So when you first began to start writing and then you went through different stages and you had your final outcome, what tip can you give to people out there that when you're writing and you're going through edits, what tip can you give them so that they understand the process?
Just write. Don't even think about what you're writing. For the people out there who are familiar with automatic writing, it's a process that you can do when you're connecting. I'm sure our audience is familiar. If you're connecting with an angel or a spirit guide, you just go into this space and you write with the opposite hand, and you're just letting your thoughts flow. I think of it like that process because your mind wants to correct. Your mind wants to make sure that everything's perfect. But that's not how you're going to get to the meat, to the heart of your story. So not overthinking it, not overanalyzing, not looking at any grammatical errors, really just flowing, just letting it come out if it's not a complete sentence, letting it come out if it doesn't make any sense. It will. It's being unearthed, and you just keep digging.
That's what Candy and I were talking about before you actually came on. That's what I was asking was, as the person writing and having editors with you, what did you learn from that process?
Having editors with me.
Yeah, because we had to work with you. We had to fine tune things. What did you learn from that process?
I learned to let go, and to let my story be birthed in the way that it needed to. And sometimes that means it's kind of like a diamond being polished. And, you know, the editors really help you polish that diamond. It's like at first, you know, a diamond is just this raw, uncut hunk of gemstone, hunk of diamond, and then throughout the process it becomes this beautiful radiant gem. And that's how the editors, that's what this process has been like for me, because I felt like, okay, I know that I know my story, I know what I want to say, and I want to make sure that it's articulated in a really powerful way. And the editors, like the editing process has really been huge. Like my story couldn't be presented in the best way without the editing process. Again, it's like that the diamond that, you
I
know,
like
it's when you're out in the sun and it's just radiating. That's how I feel. That's what I feel my story has turned into.
I love that analogy, the diamond in the rough and polishing. That's exactly what we're doing. It's like earlier I was sharing, you know, how people polish up our famous music artists and stuff, and your editors polish up your story without losing the integrity of your story. And
Yes.
yeah, and so Nanette, without sharing the story, because people are gonna learn about that once the book is released. Can you tell the audience what else was powerful about working with a group of women?
Ooh, working with a group of women, you really step into that collective energy where everyone, you know, sometimes we forget, or sometimes I forget how powerful I am. Sometimes I forget what I'm really capable of, or sometimes I don't even believe what I'm capable of. But when you step into a group of women who want you to succeed, who believe in you sometimes more than you believe in yourself, that you have no choice but to rise up. So it's really been an awesome opportunity to help me rise up, even when I didn't feel like it was possible.
I agree with you. Let's keep down for a second and see what she's got to say about that. Candy, when you're listening to her talking about the rising up process and the diamond in the rough and all, how does that feel for you as being one of the, you know, editors and graphic designer to listen to her share that piece? Can't hear you, honey. Candy, can't hear you. Got your mic on? Okay, try now. As soon as Candy gets on.
No,
Yes, there you go. You're live.
live. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing and powerful. I don't think that most of us or know what our influence has on other people. And so to be able to hear that is really wonderful. And, you know, sharing our stories, I think is going to be a powerful impact for every woman to hear the feedback that they get on their story from people not, you know, in the group has been amazing, just from each woman getting into the feedback from readers. And I think that we're all going to be quite surprised at the amazing response that we receive. But diamonds in the rough, I love that analogy, you know, because was a diamond in the rough and now they really shine.
Yeah. And I love watching some of our book reviewers, because one of the things we do in helping you get your book published is we find people that are going to pre-review it. Okay. They're proofreading a little bit for us, but they're reviewing your story. And I know that several of the readers have come back and have been like really like touched in their heart by what people have been saying about their stories. And so I have one last question for you, Nanette, and then I'm bringing on Deborah Finley, but hang in there. Don't disappear, okay? So my question for you, Nanette, is what made you decide to share your story?
What made me decide to share my story? There were so many points during my story when I was going through my actual story that I felt powerless. I felt powerless over my body. I felt powerless, like I had no connection to God. I felt like I was being punished by some outside source. I felt like my body was waging war on me. And
Why did you want to tell people about this?
I wanted to be able to take a woman's hand through my writing and to hold her hand so that she understood that no matter how dark it felt and no matter how deep down in a hole she might have felt, that you always have the power to rise above. You have the power within yourself, and it starts, you have to believe it first. You have to believe. And I really wanted to get that story out so that I could reassure women that if you open your heart to believe that what you desire, whether it's overcoming an illness, whatever it is, it starts with the belief.
Yeah, so find your passion and something you believe in, and you did that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I just
Thank you.
want to recap a few of the tips we've been giving out here today. For those of you that have just jumped on, we want to keep the integrity of your story. And we talked about you writing things down within the first 24 to 48 hours when it's fresh, when you're experiencing your life. And if you decide a little bit later, okay, but just remember, like Candy said earlier, some of that emotion and feeling gets lost the longer you wait, or you might forget some of those details. And just like Nanette was sharing too, just let it flow, let it flow. Don't worry about the grammar. That's why you have us, okay? So be creative, allow yourself to just let that energy flow into your story. We also talked about the importance of having a good cover, because that's the first thing people see before your story, okay? But now keep in mind, the only way to learn to write is to keep writing again and again and again, just like Candy shared how many times she rewrote her story. And Deborah can probably tell you a little bit about that too. So just going to bring Deborah up here, and she can come on and say hello. Don't hear you. We need to check your mic. And while Deborah's figuring out her mic, I can't hear her. We also mentioned about finding your passion, okay? That's important. And we need to also look at, sometimes people get hung up about writing a whole chapter. Just start with some key points and ideas that you have, okay? And then you'll find that things will come together, and that's why we're here. So here's another tip. If you're not really into writing it just yet, then record it. Because when I'm recording my story, it's amazing what flows, even more than when I'm writing. And so when you record it, just begin with a statement or something that you think is going to grab your audience's attention. And then, later on when you go listen to it, you're going to be like, wow, that's pretty good. And then you do it again and again and again. So Deborah, can we test your mic and see if it's working? No. So while you're trying to figure that out, hold on a second. Let me see if I take you off and put you back on. Try again. Nope. But here's the other tip. In the editing process, you have to be open to valuable feedback and not insult it. Because I remember the first time I had somebody editing my great story, I was like, oh my God, but I thought it was so good. But you know what? It got better and better. So you're going to find that you're going to do your rewrites just like these ladies have shared. They had many drafts. And then the rewrites go into the manuscript. And then the manuscript gets 4 or 5 times or more. So okay, Deborah, I think we could hear you now.
You can hear me now? I took the microphone.
Okay. Okay. So Deborah Finley is one of our co-authors as well. And Or talk about rewriting a story, huh? How
Oh my
about,
goodness.
how about you share with our audience and tell them, just like Nanette and Candy did, from your very first writing that you submitted to us to where it is now, what transpired?
Oh well, absolutely. My story was very surfacey, you know, as if I was telling it, to a group, and not really emotional. I did get down into the emotions of it, how I felt at that moment. I thought I did, but I really didn't until you had pointed that out. Like, how did that make you feel? And it was a while when this happened. So you're right. The memories, aren't as fresh. But by your advice, when I went back into the story and I went back into that moment and that day, it brought everything back. It really did. So it brought me back there. So I hope I brought the readers there with me.
Oh, I think you did. I want you to share with, because I know everyone did it to some degree. I want you to share with them, like when you first started writing, it was like data dumping. It was details,
Mhm.
right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
And so we tend to write the way we think sometimes, right?
True. Hmm.
And so what happened after we got rid of some of the data dump?
Well, honestly, for me, as soon as you gave me the advice that you gave me, Gloria, it just flowed. It just
It flowed. Yeah.
So I just allowed myself to be inspired and just go with it, and I did. So that
Yeah.
you know,
And that's what Deborah did. She was committed to her story. She kept going. We kept the integrity of her story, right?
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
So what made you decide to tell your story?
Well, I feel like for the first reason, of course, is to help people, to help people who may feel like I felt or my friend felt, and to make it not such a taboo thing, to also help educate people, in that manner, help make it scary, you know. So mine is to help individuals. That's why I decided to tell my story and to help individuals overall. Plain
And
and
I think that, yeah, I think that's why everybody did. I mean, Net wanted to tell people about her health journey and the power of her mind. You
simple.
want to share, something like you said, for some people are taboo, tapping into intuitive senses and spirits and all of that, and connecting with loved ones. For some people, that's scary, but you were
Yeah,
so brave the way you brought that forward.
thank you. That was that, you helped me do that, Gloria. And honestly, you asked me the question, when was that exact day and moment when I knew how important it was. So just, I thought back on times in my life, and that was it. That was the moment. So if you hadn't brought that up, I'd probably still be writing, trying to get the point, across. So I appreciate
So
everything.
if you're out there considering writing, do what these ladies did, write a little each day, at least 3 times a week, but even just jotting things or recording things is all really good. I'm going to bring Candy back on for a second. So just hold on there. There she goes. So Candy, after hearing Nanette and hearing Deborah, what valuable input did you receive as one of our editors standing in the background? And the whole process, like you said, when you're doing even layout and design, you're seeing it again.
The valuable input for me was the honesty and again that authenticity, the integrity of each of the women that we're working with, and that the vulnerability, allowing yourself or allowing your story to be told in that authentic vulnerable voice is empowering, even for me, when I started writing my story, because I wrote mine a little bit behind everybody. And to read each one, and I think that way with each author, to read or to experience each person's vulnerable, authentic voice is such a gift for everyone, for all of us who are working on it, for those who will be reading it. Um, we each have such a unique light in the world, and to get to experience that has been really wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. So, Deborah, I'm going to bring you back on for a second because
Okay.
you have been also writing for a while. What was different about this process in doing a short story with all these amazing women?
The support and the professionalism, I want to say. And honestly, I couldn't ask for better support and professionalism. I really
Oh,
could.
thank you.
Your designs, Candy's designs are beautiful. I love them, you know, and you and your knowing is beautiful. Your
Thank you.
intelligence and your experience and Candy's, I couldn't ask for better support. I really couldn't.
And I think that's what came through for a lot of us working together. I mean, after all, the title of our book is Women Standing Strong Together. And, you know, we talk about women coming together, right? But how often do they really, really fix those crowns, cheer each other on, hold each other up? And we all got tested with that through this, right? And yet somebody said on one of our meetings that they weren't even quite sure how much they could trust the process, but they were amazed how we all stood there together.
I agree. I agree. Even the room that you made with the support from the other women has been amazing, you know. And this is how it should be. It is in my world, but not in everyone's world, right? But
Exactly.
it's very important to support.
So if you guys just tuning in, I see some people jumping on. We have been talking about writing from a place of integrity. These are two of the authors, you know, Women Standing Strong, Deborah Finley, Candy Tillman. Candy is also the graphic designer, the intuitive artist, you know, that have been working with us. I've been giving tips for writing to keep the integrity of your story. So if you just jumped on, go back and watch it. Because if you think you can't write, everybody can write. But with the experts to help you, like Nanette said earlier, polish that diamond, it's amazing what comes through. Right, Deborah?
Absolutely. I know that one of my gifts is not what I would consider, well, I would not consider my gifts to be writing. Okay. However, I do have powerful stories and messages that will be put in writing and is put in writing here. I didn't realize, you know, I really didn't realize how powerful it was until after it was written.
Yeah.
And
the feedback, because you had some author friends look at your story and you
yes,
got some wonderful feedback. What did that do for you? That had to really make you feel proud of what you did.
I'm just glad there's many good people in this world and blessed. I really am. And I trust their integrity, each and every one of the people that I asked to please review my story and the other stories as well, you know, and I'm very grateful. I really am grateful for that feedback. And
Yeah, it was a wonderful process.
it just show what a great job you and Candy did as far as helping us too.
And if you're listening, that's one of the things that we did do. We came up with a whole pre-launch for this process to help all these authors get that feedback from other people that maybe have written before, have a good set of eyes, or maybe just a friend, right? And it was wonderful in our private group watching these people put the feedback up there because it started to get everybody even more excited about their stories. And so again, we have some people jumping on. I've been giving tips. Here's another tip. If you think you're challenged with your writing and you've got writer's block, put some background music on, like classical music. It helps your brain to become more creative. And I learned that from somebody. I'll tell you who in a second, but I've been doing it anyway, intuitively. And that's what we've been doing. We've been taking an intuitive soul journey together, tapping into the stories, tapping into the creativeness. But if you know who Brian Tracy is, he is a very successful business coach, but he is also the #1 world's best international bookseller because he knows all these different things. He has trainings, which I'm in. And this is one of the things that he reminded me of, to do and to pass on to these women. Yes, and Annette's writing binaural beats too. Yeah, so there's a lot of different hurts out there that you can listen to that help you get into that creative mind. So if you're considering writing, just know that there is a way to get your message, your story out, as long as you have the passion and you believe in it. And some of you have different expertise and knowledge and systems as well. Maybe you're not entirely sure how to get it on paper. Well, we can help you with that too. Okay. So, Candy, I want to bring you back on and add, any other insights or anything that you'd like to, since you heard what Deborah said, or something I missed.
I think the only thing maybe that I would say is, we're all creative. And like you said, we all can write. And getting, I think, past that belief that some people, that a lot of us have, that we can't do something is wonderful. And helping all of these authors and then all of our future authors understand that their voice is beautiful and that everyone has a message that needs to be heard by somebody, and chances are by a lot of somebodies. So if there's any inkling at all, and like Deborah said, we don't realize the power of our story until it's written. And I look forward to reading a lot more of Deborah's stories and yours and mine. And so I think honor whatever that voice is in your heart and let it speak. Give it the opportunity. And if it comes out as poetry, that's wonderful. It doesn't have to be a story. It can be poetry, it can be excerpts, it can be all kinds of stuff. It doesn't have to be, your typical 600-page novel. There are so many ways to honor this process and to be heard and to get your voice out there.
I agree. Absolutely. Thank you for that input. And I want to remind everybody out there too that Nanette, who you just saw a little while ago, Deborah, myself, and one other lady, you can come meet us actually, January 25th in Chester Heights, Pennsylvania. We have an event, a one-day event, where the 4 authors will be featured in surrendering to your authentic self. And we're going to make it fun and have certain exercises for you to tap into your gifts. And then on day 2, the 26th, you will have the opportunity to also work along with us in private sessions, if that's what you choose. So we are really excited to bring our work and our gifts to the world. Now, here's something else I want to say. And when Candy was talking, it reminded me. Sometimes people have said to me, well, my story is the same as a lot of people's, and there really is no value in telling the story the same. However, what I found, especially with all these reviews, is that even though some of these stories are the same, your colleagues, your friends, your network haven't heard your story, and you are inspiring thousands, if not millions of people who are ready for you. Right, Deborah?
Right. Absolutely right.
Absolutely. And so with that, I just want to, put some last words, and Candy, you can chime in too, that if you would like to be part of a collaborative book like we just did, or you are a solo author and you would like to keep your story in integrity and work with a group of intuitive, highly sensitive beings looking for heart-centered stories that will have an impact on the world, well, we're looking for you. And guess what? Today is Cyber Monday. So of course we have a special offer for you. So, but you need to get in touch with us because everybody's story is a little bit different. But we're offering 40% off our basic publishing package for anybody who wants to do a solo book. I've already talked to a couple of people today that are excited about this because 40% off is huge. Yeah. Remember, you're going to get a custom design cover, which I mentioned earlier is so important because that's the first thing people see. We're not charging extra for that like a lot of companies do, or they give you stock photos. You're going to get one-on-one coaching. You heard them say how the coaching helped them get into their story more and be healed and now help other people. So you're going to get one-on-one coaching. That's invaluable. When I published years ago, I won't mention the name of the company, but it's pretty famous. I got nothing. I got none of that. I didn't. Candy designed my cover. They were going to just slap something on. They didn't give me one-on-one coaching. They gave me a couple bookmarks to pass around afterwards. Oh, yippee. And I paid a lot of money. Okay. So we're actually giving you the personal touch, right? So contact me. We'll set up a consultation. And if you have questions for Candy, she'll get on too. Yep. And we want to bring your message out to the world. And like Candy said, it could be poetry. And if you're looking to do a collaborative book, we have some ideas already. Candy, you want to share with them some of the theme ideas we have?
We've been coming up with a bunch. There's one that we're thinking about to do with other empaths. I believe a good one would be angel stories. And then one that came to me is healing through the grieving process. So healing from grief or through grief. And then there was one about the amazing healing of traveling, you know, and some of the spiritual, because boy, that's been a big part of my journey and yours, Gloria, has been traveling and how it can be such a catalyst. And those are just a few off the top of our head. I know there's so many more.
Absolutely. And so if any of those topics appeal to you, we're looking for at least 10 other authors to collaborate with us on that. And that 40% pricing applies to the collaborative book as well. And I got to tell you, after Candy and I did some of the research out there and talking to other authors, they are paying 4 times what we're offering. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Absolutely. So you're going to get our personal touch, our personal attention, and a whole lot more, including a bonus, which we just did some research on that bonus video trailer. Tell them what you found doing a book media trailer, what it can cost up to.
When we did our research, it can cost upwards of $2,500 just for a 30-second trailer with stock art and text, little text titles. So that's not anything custom. It's just a really basic, up to $2,500.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was like, maybe I need to go into that business. I create the time. So we're going to throw in a video trailer for you. And why is that important? Because it's a visual of your story that people can watch for 30 seconds that you could have on YouTube, you could have on your website, you could put on your social media, and it captures their attention. And of course, you could have your link on there too. So we're throwing that in, all for Cyber Monday. Actually, you have until December 5th. And what we'll do is we'll contract with you with a small deposit. We will set things up to begin in January. And in 90 days, by March, guess what? You could be a published author. Yeah. Okay? And so we're looking forward to working with the first 10 people who take advantage of this opportunity. So, Deborah, I want to thank you for coming on. I'm excited to see you in January and work along with you and the other gals, surrendering to your authentic self. Do you have any last words for people out there?
Well, I will be taking you up on that offer, Gloria and Candy. So I just want you to know that. I'm looking forward to publishing my next book. And last words of advice would be just do it. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I got chills. I'm so excited we're going to get to share the rest of your story with you because Deborah is an incredible intuitive medium. If you guys haven't met her, worked along with her, if you have a loved one who is passed, man, this is the woman to go and get in touch with. And her journey, the small piece of it that she shared with us in Women Standing Strong Together, is so powerful. I had something similar happen just a few weeks ago, and I got with her and I said, "Is this the same kind of thing?" And she's always telling me I've got these mediumship abilities too. But yes, if you're a highly sensitive being and you don't understand why all these feelings are coming in and all, her story in Women Standing Strong is going to help you understand that. Anything else, ladies?
Thank you. Just thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's a pleasure working with you, by the way. You are such a sweet, gentle sweetheart. I love you.
Oh, thanks. You too, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Candy?
I only had one other thing when you were talking about how everyone thinks their story's the same and they don't have anything new. In doing this book, I noticed that there are some amazing similarities, but there's so much strength in those similarities, and each voice is still unique, even though the experience may be similar. And it helps us to not feel alone when we see stories that are similar to ours and how people have overcome challenges that are the same. It gives us the strength and the guidance to keep moving forward. And it might be your story, even if you think it's the same story, the way that you overcame your challenge might be the exact piece that someone else needs in order to move forward and succeed and overcome their own challenges.
That's a really good point. I want to thank you for adding that because, again, it goes back to just because you have a similar story doesn't mean that someone's not going to connect with you, how you share it, your specific way, feeling, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, a lot of people, they don't feel like they're enough. You know, they don't feel like they have expertise. They feel like, oh, I'll be an imposter. They have that voice going on in their head. But you know what? Your expertise is your life experiences. It is your knowledge. It's how you want to help, like these ladies have talked about, helping others. It's how you want to help somebody else's life. And if your book can change one life out there, like, wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah, if you could save one person or anything along that line, it's what a gift.
And think about this for a second, ladies. How many times have you read a book over last 10, 20, 30, 40 years, different authors, same message, but still get something out of it?
Every single time.
Okay. Matter of fact, the book The Alchemist, how many of you down here, tell me yes, have you read The Alchemist? Because I have read it seriously a dozen times. And every time I go back and read it, I gain another insight. And I actually refer to The Alchemist in my story. So, you know, that story that you have, that we have, that all of us have, somebody's going to pick up that book 10 years from now that you never met, and you're going to change their life.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to wrap this up. Thank you for your comments, your hearts. Give these ladies some beautiful hearts out there. Give them some more. Like Nanette says, just do it. And Deborah said, just do it. It's your time. And if you want to bring your powerful potential out to the world for a purpose, we want to help you get it there. Okay, so Nanette's got something else here. Let me see what she says. Totally agree about picking up new nuggets inside after reading a book on separate occasions. Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you, ladies, for coming on live today. We look forward to supporting you on your journey. And mark your calendar. December 29th is our release date for Women Standing Strong Together. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.